everyone, I am Jennifer McCloskey, and this is my Capstone Qualifier presentation for my Capstone project So Many Pathways, which is a museum-based textile well-being workshop that I created and will evaluate over the course of this semester. I am a second-year master's student at the University of Florida in the Arts and Medicine program. I also received a BFA at the University of Florida in sculpture, which is where I rediscovered my love of sewing and the fiber arts. I was inspired to create a program where I can share both my love of textiles and art history in a single programming, with a focus on stress reduction and well-being improvement, which is something my preliminary findings found as something desperately needed for my community. I have the opportunity to host 3 textile workshops with a focus on well-being research at the Harn Museum of Art. This has been a very rewarding experience to share my love of textiles with the Gainesville community. In this presentation, I will introduce my capstone project, the rationale and methodology of my capstone, the literature that informed my project, and the progress and preliminary findings and photos of my first 2 workshops. The aim of this capstone is to evaluate the impact and effectiveness of so many pathways, a series of participatory textile art workshops held at the Harn Museum of Art in Gainesville, Florida, for young to older adults 18 up. The aim of the study is to evaluate potential stress reduction and well-being improvement in a museum-based textile well-being workshop, as well as evaluating museums as a space for community well-being through participant self-reported data. The objectives are to assess effectiveness of museum-based well-being textile workshops, determine whether participants see improved well-being and/or a reduction of stress, and to evaluate museums as a community space to improve well-being. All of these will be measured through pre- and post-workshop surveys with self-reported data and optional free response feedback. The potential outcomes for this capstone project include the following: possible improvement of well-being in participants and reductions of stress, and promotion of textile engagement in arts and health and arts and heritage settings. Due to the small sample size, workshop dates, workshop hours, and general research pool, I do not expect any drastic results. It is my hope that in completing this capstone, the evidence of this small project will inspire other arts and health professionals and art educators to create similar programming at their local institutions. This capstone hopes to fill the gap of research in participatory textile engagement and arts and health engagement in museums for the same purpose of improving well-being and reducing stress. This capstone aims to fill both gaps by creating museum-based textile well-being workshop programming. From the 3 workshops created for this capstone in the Harn Museum of Art, the effectiveness of these engagements can be evaluated. For the method section of my capstone, I have separated the sections on this slide. A mixed methods impact program evaluation with program hypothesis of improving well-being and reducing stress will be utilized to evaluate the effectiveness of museum-based textile well-being workshops completed at the Harn Museum of Art for so many pathways. A 3-workshop curriculum will be developed and completed working alongside Harn staff. Each workshop will be held on different weeks and different times, experimenting with effectiveness. These workshops will create 3 sets of single-group pre- and post-test designs. Participants will engage in a docent-led Harn tour, a presentation of the history of the medium, and a further delve into art history. And finally, participatory textile arts engagement. Each workshop will have different projects that teach quilting, embroidery, and sewing. Data will be collected through printed in-person pre- and post-workshop quantitative surveys with Likert scale questions. They will also be optional qualitative feedback questions. All data is self-reported. Quantitative data analysis will be performed with standard statistical methodologies. Optional qualitative data will be coded by themes from content analysis by me. From the beginning classes of the graduate program, I pretty much knew that I wanted to create this for my capstone project. By early 2023, I had my curriculum completed, my capstone proposal done, and my IRB submission also done. I had also secured my location at the Harn Museum of Art and funding from the Harn Museum of Art through the Mary M. James Scholarship Fund. Starting from fall 2023, all 3 workshops have started and will be completed by the end of October. For my program evaluation methods, as stated previously, this will be a mixed methods impact program evaluation of my program's so many pathways. There will be 3 workshops with 15 max participants per workshop, 18 up, and it will be completed by the end of October, fall 2023 at the Harn Museum of Art. The evaluation will be completed with my capstone final paper at the end of November. For my evaluation, I completed a program hypothesis of if participants engage in a museum-based textile well-being workshop, then participants will see short-term improvements in well-being and reduction of stress. The framework of the surveys will be adopted from Phase 4 of Thompson's Museum Well-being Measures Toolkit, which was developed from a combination of other well-being toolkits with art and heritage programs in mind. They created a standardized methods section by evaluating museum programs. Recruitment for the workshop will and has been sent through the Harn's targeted email listserv as well as their social media pages. The UF College of the Arts and other Gainesville social media outlets have also been notified with a flyer and have been asked to post as well. The only requirement for enrollment is being over 18 years of age for both safety, social, and research measures. Each workshop, even though they have different themes, is a 5-hour workshop that is separated into 4 major activities. The first of these is a further introduction to the project as well as introductions to each other, and making sure that each participant has signed and completed their consent forms before they complete the first pre-workshop survey. Then, participants engage in an hour-long docent-led tour of the Harn, focusing specifically on textile pieces that go with the project as well as their current exhibitions and collections. Afterwards, we delve further into the history of textiles and our history of the medium. A warm-up sun pin cushion is completed to set the skills and tone of the participant, which helps me gauge skill levels before continuing and explaining the major project. The rest of the time is dedicated to art creation and exploring the art of sewing. Participants engage with each other in stories and conversation while creating each major project for the workshops. The post-workshop is completed before they leave. No follow-up surveys are completed. Here is me and participants from Workshop 1 in front of Ellen Atsuvi's Old Man's Clock, which was the major piece for Workshop 1. The backbone of the survey design is from Thompson's Museum Wellbeing Measures Toolkit. But to supplement my own research, there are also objectives that go with specifically my own program creation, its successes, and demographic questions to help round out my cross-tabulation. The post-workshop survey follows the same objectives and methods, but asks specifically if the projects were easy to follow and complete, as well as the Harn as a specific location for enrichment. Here is a sample of my pre-workshop survey. As you can see, it has demographic questions, and then it continues to the Museum Wellbeing Toolkit, and then the post-workshop survey. At the bottom there is a open feedback section, which I have been getting a lot of feedback from on pros and cons of the workshops. Before diving into my literature review, here's a few definitions that correlate with the findings in research. Textiles can mean many different things, but for the sake of my research, we're going to focus on it meaning any different art practice, including the following: knitting, weaving, braiding, sewing, felting, dyeing, crocheting, spinning, and basketry. Basically any handmade craft that uses fibers as a whole. And then for this capstone, and to keep my research aligned with specifically my Thompson toolkit, well-being will be defined in the same way as Thompson's research. They use a combination of the Health Education Authority definition of well-being and the Department of Health definition to conclude that well-being is a public health indicator as well as a concept of the emotional and spiritual resilience which enables people to both survive discomfort and to thrive. Our literature review will cover these three main sections: studies done on well-being improvement in textile arts and health engagement, art theory and the formation of the sewing circle, and museums creating a sense of place and belonging. Studies done on textile arts and health engagement. Slight overview. With traditional origins, textile and fiber arts engagement with arts and health intervention allows participants to take part in traditional art forms and mediums. Sewing and other textile mediums were originally taught as a necessity, primarily to women, but with the resurgence of the craft and domestic arts in both popular culture and some spheres of the art world, the focal point has moved instead to traditional roots, cultural meaning, and nostalgic purposes rather than gendered politics. Studies on arts and health engagement in the current scope of arts and health is primarily focused on adults with chronic illness, specifically noted because of the benefits and versatility of the medium. One of the goals of this capstone is to expand the scope of practice into community engagement with textile arts to all adults 18 up, regardless of diagnosis or gender. Individual studies done on textile arts and health engagement. These were both done with adult populations. In 2004, Reynolds conducted a qualitative study of the application of textile arts for chronically ill patients. Results show that the medium provided a multidimensional experience, allowing patients of all different skill level and disability the opportunity to find accomplishment and pride in their work. Similarly, Clark in 2019 found that engaging in a hobby that focuses on strengths and abilities rather than disabilities, individuals are able to gain a stronger sense of their own capacities. They also found that the benefits of textile arts were multifaceted and included pride and accomplishment and opportunity for social connection. Group studies done on textile arts and health engagement. In 2015, Kelly did a joint project connecting her health team to community members, where her group and the community engaged together for multiple weeks for the creation of 3 quilts for the project Stitches in Time. The project involved the design and fabrication of 3 different works of arts for the University Centre for Public Health in East London, focusing on health topics including diabetes, vitamin D, and healthy foods. The art process was interwoven with discussions about health. What's really interesting in this study is that a sewing workshop was not originally planned. A sewing workshop was created due to local interest and popular demand and allows local women to teach staff sewing techniques during discussions, giving both parties the opportunity to share their skills. Art theory and the formation of the sewing circle. The original model of sewing circles and guilds has lived on through art historians as a part of the hidden stream, a collective discussion of domestic art forms primarily done by women, such as weaving, stitching, quilting, ceramics, and costuming. Collins and Sandel noted that the sophistication and intricacies of these processes, art forms, and mediums that have survived through institutions such as quilting circles reinforce community. Similarly, Williamson writes about their sewing circle project and reflects on 10 years of the program and how their goals have adapted over the years in their collaborations. Results of their studies have both showed positive social connection with a focus on well-being and group formation. Location and community building were also noted as important factors in successful groups in art participation. Museums creating a sense of place and belonging. Art museums and museums as a whole have been a center of community and has been one of the most common ways that people engage with visual art. Several studies have examined the effects of visiting art museums on clinical and individual self-reported studies. Results of these studies found that viewing artwork and visiting a museum greatly reduced levels of self-reported stress. Cotter amplifies these studies and calls a museum an institution for human flourishing. Throughout history, the arts and humanities have shaped communities and individuals, and Cotter finds that art museum engagement has been associated with increased feelings of cheerfulness, happiness, and improved well-being. Bennington et al. Wrote specifically on the benefits of art participation in art museums for older adults and their potential benefits. The authors' results found potential in promoting social connectedness and improving well-being, as well as giving participants opportunity to explore emotions safely within a group. The study was done under art therapy, but the results show the same thing. The art museum organizations have the opportunity to be an important role in community engagement and exist as a space to create a sense of place and belonging. Many museums and galleries offer services directed at improving health and well-being of their audiences. However, despite arts and heritage program becoming an increasing area of activity, there is little standardized methods of evaluating these programs. Thompson created a toolkit to measure the effectiveness of museum programs, aptly named arts and heritage programs, assessing the well-being of adults participating in museum and arts and heritage activities. Gaps of research. There is a gap of research on the benefits of textile engagement for the exact purpose of reducing stress and improving well-being, as well as textile engagement done in museum settings and museum research as a community space. Detailed research on different age and health populations with textile engagement is necessary to get accurate and detailed results on the benefits of the medium. Research in textile engagement in specific different areas of the medium, such as knitting and crochet, should be further researched as well. Research on larger populations should also be studied, as well as moving past females. However, with the before-mentioned articles and research studies, benefits can now be generally implied that textile arts can be correctly utilized in arts and health settings to reduce stress and to improve well-being. The first workshop was completed on September 21st. The docent-led tour focused on the Harn's contemporary collection and specifically Ellen Atsuli's Old Man's Cloth, their visiting Cuban exhibition, and their textile pieces in the Asian wing. After the tour, further exploration into Ghanaian kente cloth and American quilt making was completed, comparing kente weaving symbology with quilt block meanings, looking specifically into the Underground Railroad quilt codes and other kente cloth proverbs. Afterwards, participants started to make a small kente cloth inspired tapestry piece after completing a sun pin cushion. For preliminary findings, the only chart that I have created at this point is averaging out the museum well-being measures toolkits with pre and post workshop feelings. As you can see, most participants saw an increase in positive feelings and a decrease in negative feelings. I will go further into preliminary positives and challenges. The second workshop was completed September 29th. It was an exploration into the current exhibition She, Her, Hers, Women in the Arts of China, and the docent-led tour focused on Asian textile pieces spanning from Bangladesh to Korea to China. We did a very cute activity of pulling apart a silk handkerchief to see how far we could stretch it as a group in their Asian wing. The later presentation focused on the history of embroidery in Li Changjiao, a famous Song Dynasty Chinese poet, and her poem Yi Zhan Mei, which means a spray of plum blossoms, as well as a special plum blossom Sun Dynasty vase that was pulled out from their collection just for this workshop. This project for the workshop is a custom plum blossom embroidery piece inspired by suit embroidery. Just like the first workshop data, this one had similar results, but it was nice to be able to compare results from the first to the second, which is why I included it as part of this presentation. Preliminary results have been successful in brief improvements of well-being and reduction of stressors in a 5-hour workshop period, with comments on connection and community building and general positive results. There are a few challenges and limitations to my workshops, including some participants feeling overwhelmed and limited by their own skills, as well as some critiques about the project themselves. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this presentation. If you have any questions, please use the discussion tab below or email me directly on my email or on my art website. A special thanks to the Harn and specifically Paige Willis, Alyssa Payton, and Eric Segal for all that they have done to make my workshops be successful, and all the email threads that I have made for this workshop. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a good day.